I have to make a commercial and I have no idea what I'm doing. At the beginning of the year, I approached my friend Dustin about making a commercial for his shop, Smith Oddities. Now, it's worth noting that this was not a cold approach. Dustin and I have been friends for about a year now, and I met him while filming my newest documentary, Death Reigns. It's about a Tennessee heavy metal festival that was protested by Christian conservatives and nearly shut down. Dustin's shop, Smith Oddities, is a longtime vendor of that festival and an important part of the story of the film. Through our interactions making that movie, we forged a friendship and he earned my undying support. As I try to grow my skills as a filmmaker, I want to push myself to try new things, challenge myself, so I can become, better and more versatile. Not just because it improves my skills, but also because if I'm good enough, that means I might actually be able to make a living doing this. Making a commercial is not something I've ever done before, but I knew Dustin well enough that I was comfortable floating the idea to him. Once I approached him about it, he was immediately on board and we started discussing ideas until we finally landed on the one that we decided on to actually film. Once that was decided, I had to actually figure out how I was going to make this thing. I took the concept for the commercial and made a detailed shot list that described the number of each shot, the content of each shot, as well as how long I expected each shot to last. I was aiming to make a commercial that was about 30 seconds long. My aim was to make it quick, effective, memorable, attention-grabbing, but most of all, I wanted people who watched it to really feel like they wanted to shop at Smith Oddities. I sent the shot list over to Dustin, who only had one minor adjustment, and after that, later in the week, it was time to shoot.
You just need a shot of
The commercial starts out with Dustin in a dark room preparing an animal skull to be sold in his shop. To do this, we used the back room of the shop as well as a small metal table that he had stored there. For lighting, I only used one light, a $50 softbox light from Amazon that I've been using for a whole year. It's not the best, but it gets the job done. For the camera, I was using a 25mm prime lens on the Lumix GH6, shooting at 4K at 60 frames a second. Once those shots were in the bag, I wanted to get shots of him actually hanging the skull on the wall. I once again used my softbox light for this to imitate sunlight coming in through the windows of the shop, something that was very needed as it was very cloudy out the day we decided to shoot. By the time those shots were done, our actress had arrived. The idea for this commercial was that a customer was going to come in the store and buy the skull that Dustin prepared at the beginning of the commercial. To cast this role, Dustin actually asked one of his actual customers to fill the role. She was really nervous in front of the camera because she had never acted before, so a lot of shooting her shots was just explaining to her and showing her what we wanted and making sure she felt entirely comfortable and stress-free. For these shots, I did use the interior lighting of the shop, but I specifically turned off the overhead light directly above the actress to improve the lighting on her face. With the shots of her in the shop done, it was time to go outside and get the final shot. My idea for this shot was to get a wide-angle shot of the outside of the shop as the customer walked out happy with their product. But when it came time to actually shoot this, there was a big problem. There was a massive red SUV directly in front of the shop, obscuring both the door and the sidewalk in front of the shop. With this vehicle in front of the shop, there was no way to get the shot that I wanted. To make matters worse, not only did we not have the contact information for whoever owns this vehicle, to Dustin's knowledge, the vehicle had not moved in an entire week because it was broken down and it had been abandoned by its owner. Calling a tow truck was not an option at this time either, as the car was parked in a public parking spot that was free to use at all times during the day on a weekend, and we were shooting this on a Sunday. With my initial idea out the window, I had to do some quick thinking. I switched to a 17mm lens and got a lot closer to the shop than I initially wanted, but I was still able to get in frame most of what I initially wanted to get thanks to the wider angle of the lens. And I was able to get it without including the big red eyesore. After a few takes, we got the final shot. I also grabbed a shot of the open sign switching on, and that was the conclusion of our shoot. The footage that we got was pretty good, but I still had to work my fingers at some editing magic to make it 30 seconds, which I was unfortunately not able to do. The final video clocks in at about 40 seconds, but I think that was fine because I think that what came out of the process was pretty beautiful. Without further ado, this is what we made. Smith Oddities. I'm really happy with how this turned out. There were some shots that I edited out for time and because I just didn't think they worked as well. Originally, at the beginning of the commercial, we were going to have some shots of Dustin coming into the shop right before he got to work on the skull, but at the end of the day, it just didn't feel right, and it also added more time to the commercial, and I needed it to be as short as possible. While it did end up being over my target time, I still think it ended up being pretty good. I sent it to Dustin a week after the shoot and he was blown away. He posted it to social media a few days later and it got him a lot of engagement on his pages, and everyone who watched it seemed to love it. So for my first commercial, I think I did pretty okay. But what do you think? Did I do well? Did I completely fuck everything up? Do you have a burning hatred for me inside of you that just can't be contained? Let me know anything and everything in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. Alright, in 3, 2, 1, action.
Let me do it again just in case.
Yeah, because I'm not sure that was in focus. I think it was a little further up.